Do not adjust your digital device. What you are about to see and hear may shock and appall you. Join our hosts as they encounter countless thrills, spills, chills, and hilarity as they explore the very weirdest in pop culture. The following media is so strange, so beyond the scope of what is normal, it will make you ask the question, why does this exist? Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Why Does This Exist? I'm Chris.
And I'm Rob.
And we are gathered today with a very special guest who we have not had on this show in a very, very, very long time. Excuse me, I'm still diseased.
Chris is dying.
Yes, we're all dying every day, every moment of the hours, if we want to get really grim and technical about it. But that's not who we're talking about. We did not invite an undertaker to this show, nor anyone in embalming school, not even a mortuary owner, not even a gravedigger,
not even mean Mark Callis.
No, we did not invite any of those people. Instead, we invited the man from space. We invited a great pioneer and soldier of the next frontier and the next world. He does not need to be traveling Mars because, well, fuck billionaires, but instead he is navigating Pluto and Charon and other planets and moons that are far beyond the scope and reach of human beings. That's right, we're talking about Spaceman Frank. He has returned. For the three of you that have been listening to this show since the beginning, and to the two of you that have joined for the first time, thanks. We are Why Does This Exist? We are a show, a podcast that talks about the very weirdest in pop culture, whether it is a movie like we did a couple weeks ago with Big, a video game like we talked about the N64 a few weeks ago, or just anything in between, like music, like when we talked about black metal about a year and a half ago. Whatever it is, we will touch on it, and it is a lovely, lovely thing. We will be talking about pro wrestling today. If you haven't read the title, which is half the reason why Spaceman Frank is here, but also we missed him. He's back from his latest frontier of exploring interdimensional beings and also fornicating with the various alien women from those planets. Or, well, I don't even know if they're women. They probably have their own pronouns that you and I can't pronounce, like or something. I don't know.
They're Spaceman.
Spaceman Frank would be the one to really tell you all of this and have his bestiary codex updated. But anyway,
I do declare I was coming in here ready to be the hyper chicken lawyer from Futurama, Jay from Jay and Silent Bob being like, I'm gonna be the first homie to fuck a Martian. Let's talk about wrestling.
Yes. So if you like the show, or if you don't like the show and you want to pass this on to your neighbor, you can support us in a couple of ways, or you could convince your neighbor whom you don't like to give us money or support in a few ways. So you could, one of them is by heading over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/whydoesthisexist. You can give us as little as $1 or whatever it is that you want. We have articles being written by Tony all the time, someone else who has lots and lots of children scattered throughout galaxies, and by galaxies we mean like godforsaken states like Iowa. If you don't like us, you can at least give Tony some money and try to support him and the many, many children that he may or may not have legitimately. Anyway, you could do that on patreon.com/whydoesthisexist. We've got new articles popping on all the time for your pleasure. Those are free, but if you join, you get into the Discord server. You can hang out with us. We might let you in on a show, or you can come up with some topics. You can look at our schedule and, just tell tell the good people whatever it is that you want to do. You can also just buy us coffee if you don't feel like giving us money monthly. That's fine. Just a one-time deal. buymeacoffee.com/whydoesthisexist. You can also follow us on the socials. Facebook.com/whydoesthisexist. Assuming that exists, because my account doesn't anymore. And it's on the X or the Twitter, but no one cares about that. You can also find us on YouTube, which some of you may be listening to us on, or you could listen to us on any platform that you get your podcasts. That's the cheap way to do it. If you're going to be on YouTube, just sub, give and interact with the algorithm or something like that. Or if you just don't want to do any of those things and you want to just tell us how we're doing in private, then let us know at whydoesthisexistshow@gmail.com. That's the news. Here's the weather. You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge from a ragtag group of rogues. So let's get on with the goddamn show. We are talking today. Yes, I love that line. We are talking about the problems with AEW today. Not that Tony Khan will listen to us, because he hasn't listened to any of the actual wrestling legends in the business or the ones that he employs, assuming that they haven't just said, everything you're doing is great, keep giving me an 8-figure check that I am well past my prime to be earning, which I don't blame them. If I were Jake Roberts, I would be doing the same thing.
I wonder what Tony Khan's Coke budget is.
Oh, man.
Oh, we're already going there.
Problem number one. Tony Khan's Coke budget. How much blow do we think this man does on a daily basis or hourly?
Listen, here's what I'll say. I'm a big AEW's my favorite wrestling company. I watch all their pay-per-views. I refuse to believe that Tony Khan does coke, because I believe he's in the upper strata where, like, he's probably doing drugs we don't even know about. So, like, I refuse to believe that he's doing coke, because there's probably something even better he's doing.
He's like doing like adrenochrome or some shit like that.
Oh my god.
Exactly. We don't, like, listen, like, I appreciate that he's willing to do the things. If he had zero money, he would be a troll on Twitter.
Yes, this is true.
I also want to preface to say, because Tony said it, I am also a fan of AEW, but
as am I. It's going to sound bitter and angry, but yes, Rob will explain it better than I can.
Well, I think the problem is that there are some AEW fans that are completely blind to the issues of the company, of which there are many. And as a fan of AEW and like wanting the company to be successful and actually be competitive with WWE, I like think it's right to criticize and call out these problems so they can be fixed. Not that they will be. Not that Tony Khan or anybody in the company is going to listen to like 3 jackalls on the internet just talking about it.
Well, you'd be surprised. He seems to enjoy the cage match ratings.
Yeah, he's been chronically off or online. Like, they show him in like blurry ECW footage. Like, he's been a part of the IWC for so long. Like, he just
this is the man.
Like I said, if he had zero money, he'd still be doing this in his mind.
It's probably the problem.
Yeah, this is the guy who started with an eFed online that him and 2 other people did in a message board, and he thought that where he did his fantasy booking like years ago. Yeah. So that already tells you like where like what his credibility is.
I will say, like,
I feel
like other people like OSW Review has pointed this out. He feels like someone who had an idea for like a year or 2, but now we're at year 5, and it's like, all right, like, you've burned through your ideas for this company.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like, now what do you do? And like,
that's exactly what the problem is.
A lot of it is good, but there's also like some problems, and like you're going through like the growing pains of like, well, now what do I do now that I've done my big ideas?
Well, he's
like year 1 was great. And
He's
then
also-
year 2 like had its moments, and it like kind of burned out, and then like
It's been straight downhill from there, pretty much.
yeah, like you can tell that he only had ideas for year 1.
But like, I still feel like there's like good ideas. It's just like
They're few and
Like-
far between now.
he's relying more on the people to come up with their own ideas rather than him coming up with ideas for this company.
And a lot of them are not very good because
Yeah.
they're probably also there's no one to rein them in. Like any of Jericho's ideas would have been okay if they were reined in to a point, but like yeah, some parts of his ideas I think worked, but not all of them. And obviously Tony Khan being like a supermark, he's not going to say like he didn't say no to anything. So he let him do all of it, and this is why almost every storyline that Jericho's had has pretty much sucked at the end. Like they get off to an okay start, and then it just like by the middle of it, you're like, I don't even know what I watched. This sucks.
Yeah.
It's like where if you let him do half of that, it probably would have been a good angle.
I think another big problem is that Tony Khan kind of played off the underdog thing for the AEW's early years.
Yeah.
And he's come to the end of that rope. Like that, you can't keep calling yourself the underdog when you're like, first of all, you're a multi-billionaire and you're just pouring your own money into the company. So
well, it's not even
not
his money; it's Daddy's money.
Well, yeah,
we'll get to that.
Yeah. So you're not even really in that regards like the underdog because you can literally do pretty much whatever you want with this company. And it like the problem is that they want to do this whole like we're basically taking indie wrestling and putting it on the big screen and like on the main stage and it's going to be on network TV and blah 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 blah. And okay, that's all well and good, but you have to realize like most wrestling fans are not indie wrestling fans. The majority of wrestling fans are like sports entertainment fans. And you can't have a show that's an indie wrestling show and fucking expect to sell out stadiums with it.
You also can't expect to put it on national TV and expect people and expect everyone to just love it.
No.
It has if you're putting something on TV, it has to make sense.
Yes.
There has to be character development. There has to be a reason for people to come back. You have to feature a lot of the same talent on TV before you start to cycle through other people. Because if they only have you can't tell me that it's long-term storytelling if you start a storyline and then you wait 3 weeks for either of the people involved to come back on TV because you just wanted to throw other people on the shows in between.
Yeah.
By then, half the people who tuned in for that storyline have given up on the storyline.
Yeah.
And this brings up a good point that I wanted to bring up. I feel like WWE is really good at making content that's good for like YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that, where like I could show people who aren't into wrestling, like, here's this Tozawa video of him dancing, and it's like, oh, that's funny, and like stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, like even if you don't like wrestling, you can enjoy this. Where like AEW, it's like, no, you have to watch like this pay-per-view to enjoy this, and I'm asking you to enjoy this 30-minute match with zero context. And be like, no, but listen, they really don't like each other, maybe. And also, they're going to hit each other really hard because they try really hard.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I like that stuff, but like, if you're asking other people, it's like, yeah, I'd rather watch like the YouTube short of the man dancing. It's like, yeah, I get that. All right.
Also, if you're showing someone a match, they need to know the context behind, if there's no video package, they need to know the context behind it so that they at least understand that, why it's a big deal. If they're, just either a casual if they're, a casual fan, or if they're just not a fan at all. It's just, well, why am I watching this? Like, what? Like, why are these guys? Like, why are these people fighting?
Yes.
And if they don't understand that beforehand, then there might not be a reason for them to watch anything like this because they might really not be interested.
Well,
Like that's kind of the problem with wrestling in general is you get someone you want to get the other person interested when you're showing it to a friend, and usually you would show them something that has like a video package behind it so that they can understand the whole point of why you're showing them, like, why is this a big deal for you to show it to me?
well, and that's the big problem with AEW is that the video packages that they do like basically barely even scratch the surface of the story. Like, so this is one thing that WWE does very well. Like, if you're going, let's say you're watching a pay-per-view, and let's go back in time, and we'll say it's Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. Well, guess what? Before their match at the pay-per-view, they're gonna show you the basically like a 5-minute video of everything that led up to this match, and it's like concise enough that it's not like, oh, I'm like gonna fall asleep watching this stupid video right now.
It's like a good 3 to 5 minute package.
Yes, but it's also like informative enough. It's like, okay, I understand the storyline. I know why they're here. This is like why the feud is happening, and this is why the match is happening. I understand it. AEW does not do that at all. Their packages are not descriptive enough, and like a lot of the time it's just like promo shit, and it's like, okay, like great, there's promo shit here, but you're not telling us like why. Where's the tension here? Why is this like built up to this match? You know,
They will show you the promo packages they filmed for the pre-show, but nothing else.
yes.
Yeah, that's not enough. Also, like, and not even talking about the pay-per-views, there isn't even a recap of what happened last week in the beginning
Yes.
to like get you
Unless
to like
it's like
get you to
a
understand
rematch,
what's
like-
going on.
They will show you like footage of a rematch between the two random people from like 18 months ago, but they won't explain to you what's currently happening with those two people. It's like,
Right.
oh, like Phoenix defeated John Moxley like 3 months ago, and here we go, they're fighting again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Why
that's
are they fighting again? We don't
yeah,
know.
that's not good enough. But I mean, again, for the people listening to this who are not going to listen to anything that we have to say because they're going to make it up in their mind that we hate this and that we're e-drones or whatever nonsense that we want to say, we want the company to succeed and compete. They're just not doing a good job currently. They might get
Yeah.
better eventually, but I don't know when, and you can't even say that they're a young company anymore. They are, but they're not young enough where like
Well,
they're not young enough of a company where like you can use that as an excuse anymore because it's
Well,
in
here's
year
the thing.
5.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the thing. Most
Like
companies,
TNA in year 5 was like somewhat competing with
most new companies,
WWE to like a degree. They were at least getting over 1 million consistently, and they had enough uniqueness about them that people were interested. Where after pretty much the minute that they got the 4-sided ring, nobody really cared about it so much anymore because it looked the same as everything else. I mean, really, when Jeff Jarrett got out, like TNA started its decline. It is starting to get. I think there is interest starting to come back to it finally because they went back to TNA from Impact,
yeah.
and they have gotten some good storylines over the years. It's just that nobody watches it anymore.
No.
But I think the interest is coming back.
I
But
think,
we're not here to talk about TNA. That's another story altogether.
Yeah, I think a large part of let me go back to what I was originally going to say. Is like, so AEW, they said most new companies, when you start a new company, you have a 5-year plan. And like, if you're not profitable after 5 years, then you have to decide, okay, are we going to keep the company open, or are we going to close it down, try something else? And so now, we're going into year 5 with AEW, and they are not, as far as I know, they're not profitable. And apparently this was like a big controversy recently, because AEW posted their revenue numbers.
Oh, I didn't see this.
Yeah, so apparently they were boasting because they made like a lot like of gross revenue, but like didn't actually factor in anything else. So like
no.
they actually aren't making a net profit because of their operating costs are so high.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure.
so they're
They're
like,
overpaying so much. How many
yes.
people? How many people are on the roster?
First of all, they have an obscenely big roster. They need to either cut it down or they need to do a brand split, which they're not going to do. So they need to fire
No.
people. I'm sorry.
They tried, it seemed like a brand split was attempted when Punk came back and they did Collision, but that we know how that turned out with Punk, and we will
Exactly.
get to the brawl out and everything eventually. But let's get to the
Tony
stuff
Khan
that's
is
obvious first.
Tony Khan is too willing to pay people to avoid the bad publicity, which I get, but like
But
you
at the
said, like
same time,
but like at the same time, like he can at the end of the day, he can afford it, but like, is it
he
like
can afford
good?
it. He can
Is it
afford
good
it
for him to
until his
just be like, no, you're gonna stay in place? Like, well, I want to go somewhere else.
Yeah,
You
like he
know?
can afford it until his dad decides, okay, like we tried, like it's time to give up on this thing.
Well, I mean,
Just,
at this point, if it's
just like everything else I've handed to you, you've managed to fuck it up. So
at this
just
point, it's if it's operating at a loss, the dad's friggin' he's probably just seeing it as a friggin' tax write off at this point.
this is
Because
true.
Yeah, it's true.
I have a
They reside in
theory.
Florida. What even is a fucking loss in
This is
Florida?
true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have a theory about AEW and Shahid Khan. I have a theory because Tony Khan has been the king of the Nepo children of this earth. He's basically every Succession child rolled into one, and um, he he had Fulham. He was terrible at that.
Mhm.
He had the Jaguars thing. He's awful at that. He whatever other ventures he's had that his dad brought him in to do because he has to do something. Maybe he just gave him all these jobs to try to bond with his son because billionaire parents do not know how to do anything outside of operate their business.
maybe it's like Billy Madison, like he didn't he didn't go to
Maybe
school.
it's that too.
He's got to go through every grade of school in the next month.
Oh my god,
to
that would be
inherit his
great.
dad's company.
That would
Oh
be
my
so
god.
great. Yeah, but my
Listen,
theory,
who cares about the Jags? You know, they can keep failing. I'm a bitter Bills fan. I'm very angry we just lost. If
I'm
other
sorry.
AFC companies or teams can lose, I'm fine with that. You know,
That
let them run it. Go
that's
on,
fair.
Tony.
Well, my theory is that Shahid Khan decide like he like the way he's sold it is, oh, I'm gonna give my son his inheritance now while I'm still alive, so I can see what he does with it. But my theory is that he gave Tony probably begged for this for many, many, many years, and he probably said no that whole time. But Tony has probably fucked up so many things and cost his dad so much money over the years by just not being good at anything that he probably decided, okay, I have to get my son away from all of my businesses that actually make money. I
But
have to
here's
get
the
him as
thing.
far away from these as possible. And so let me give him this stupid wrestling company so that he can go ahead and do whatever he wants with that money and leave so that I can try to actually get these businesses back on track.
But here's the
That's my
thing.
theory. I don't know if it's true, but that's my theory.
But like, allegedly, like Tony Khan's lost like $30 million with AEW. Does that even register with them? You know what I mean? Like,
Probably not.
I'm
It's
I'm
probably a
I'm
drop in the
willing
bucket.
I'm willing for these guys to lose a bunch of money to have a good wrestling company that I overall enjoy. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, keep making mistakes as long as there's like a competition and like maybe like we can recapture like the early years where it's like a little bit more exciting, but like it's not bad. It's not like I'm like ordering these pay-per-views and being like, "Oh my god, what am I watching?" You know? Like just, you know, you can afford if I'm having fun, maybe Tony Khan's having fun.
He
we can all
probably
have
is
fun here.
he probably is because like this like he he's not interested in making money with this. This is his real life action figure collection. Like he's playing with his toys. That's really all that it is for
Yes.
him. Because I mean, I don't even know what kind of deals that he made with like this with like Warner Discovery, Max HBO, whatever the fuck it is. He's
What
like,
I'm thinking is he's
I
waiting
wouldn't
to
be
see what he's he's willing to burn as much money as he can, hoping
yeah.
for the rights deal will make up for whatever money he's losing. You know, unless it's like the bottom falls out, he's gonna make money on this. You know, it's
I
gonna
mean,
happen.
that's like all the like it's really like living or dying by like whatever Warner decides to do with like to renew the TV rights. And some people have speculated that they have a piece of AEW so that they can keep it on because it's really not costing them anything. So
Are
like
you
what do they
saying that
care?
the company that has a TNT and TBS championship is not part of that group of channels?
I I have no idea. But it's
You
weird
know,
that
the
it's not on
TBS could
HBO
stand for
Max.
anything. We don't know what TBS stands for. You know?
It could even stand for Turner Broadcasting something. Syndicate? I don't know what it stands for.
I think it's Turner Broadcasting Station.
Is it station?
I think so. I don't
I don't know. What does Google say? Yeah, it's Turner Broadcasting System.
Yeah.
Oh,
Even if they don't pick up the rights, they could easily just be like, we'll shop this to anything else. Like, we're
That's
gonna
true.
make our money back, and we'll just make it like the prime championship, the Netflix championship. You know?
This is true. I mean, they could like they'll get it they'll get it around somehow. But I don't know. I mean, I don't. It probably wouldn't really. I mean, it would probably just be a blow to Tony's ego, but it really wouldn't matter. They'll wind up on something, and even so, I'm sure he would find a way to like get it onto something. But I don't. I'm just surprised that it's not on like HBO Max or there's no like streaming service or anything like
yeah.
for it to be on. Like, because if you want to like get it on some, if you want to like get more eyeballs on it, then that's the quickest way. But
Yeah.
I don't understand why that wasn't hammered out in year two. But
Yeah, and like,
then again, we've discussed Tony's his space drugs.
well,
Yeah.
like even involving that, like I've Tony bought Ring of Honor, and I was like,
That was a huge mistake too.
well, like it could have been good, but like it's like, all right, so like, what is he gonna do with Ring of Honor, and
It
how is
should
that
have
gonna
been
feed?
good.
Yeah, like how is that gonna feed into AEW? Like, where is this gonna go? And we still don't know. Like, I kept waiting for like, all right, like eventually, like Ring of Honor is gonna be its own thing. This is what we're gonna do with it, and we still don't know. And like that has just added to like the like 24 titles in AEW. So like the
Yeah,
fact that
it's
he doesn't seem to have a plan with this the I hate to say it, but the secondary brand, what are you gonna do with this big thing? Like, what's happening here, bro? Like, if
yeah,
you can't
like
find like a rights deal for Ring of Honor, how are you gonna find a rights deal for AEW?
right. And the longer it takes you to do both of those things, the more stale your product is going to feel to anyone that you shop it around. So, I mean, for all we know, he's been trying to shop it around and he's asking for too ludicrous of a price because it's important to him. But but the average TV station that you're trying to shop this around to or streaming service, most do not care about wrestling at all unless it's WWE because of the brand name and the recognition that goes with that. But I don't like I could see him asking for way more money than than they would value it at.
Yeah.
Kind of how he bought Ring of Honor by way overpricing his ask for it because he was trying to compete with WWE, who just wanted Ring of Honor for the tape library, which is kind of the only thing that really was of value that Ring of Honor had.
Yeah. And well, and it's stupid because like I want to like don't, obviously we're going to have to make some comparisons to WWE here, but I feel like in a lot of ways AEW is like following in like the worst parts of WWE's footsteps in like regards to Ring of Honor specifically. It's like, they bought Ring of Honor and then they put on like this Ring of Honor show that's like a neutered version of Ring of Honor with just like their like B-list fucking mid-carders that don't get any traction on like the main roster,
Right.
And
I mean,
it's like exactly what WWE. It's
and then
exactly
it was almost like they punished Samoa Joe for like a year because it's like, wait, you're making him the Ring of Honor champion?
Well, it's like exactly what WWE did with ECW when they bought ECW and then had like a neutered ECW show. Like, and it literally just became like a friggin' basically developmental territory. Like,
I will say the Ring of Honor Women's Championship is probably the only thing that's benefited from all this, because like I feel like Athena has been doing really good. Everyone else in Ring of Honor is very like it hasn't done well, but I feel like that's the one place where it's like, yeah, like that's cool, but like I'm not paying $10 a month to see Athena wrestle once a month.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, you have to feature you should be featuring your stars or your champions prominently so that people know who they are and they get invested into them. Like we said before, like the roster's too big. It makes no sense.
Yeah, especially with like Ring of Honor where it's like a weird like, hey, do you want to spend money to see the people that aren't on free TV? Please do, because I have to like justify this whole thing where it's like I feel like I said, like the women's division seems to be like the best part of Ring of Honor at this point, where it's like
and that's saying something
I
for
don't know how
AEW.
we arrived at this point, because like they're great, like, but I feel like there could have been like, all right, like the people who don't get a chance in AEW, we're gonna show them off. No, we're not gonna do that. Never mind. Just kidding.
It's like that's what they had attempted to do with Dark and Elevation, and those were awful because they just made a bunch of jobbers lose to the actual main event guys. So it was like not worth watching at all because the other, like, you see like Bryan Danielson and then you see this person you never heard of standing in the ring. You know they're going to get squashed, or worse, they're going to have a 20-minute competitive match with like your top guy. So it diminishes the top guy because this guy's a jobber. Why are they having a 20-minute competitive match with your top guy? Makes no sense. And also, it's on YouTube, so nobody's going to watch it. So,
Not even on YouTube. You had to pay for it.
It's worse. So, like, and even at that, let's just say, and we'll get to this later, is, supposing this 20-minute competitive match with a nobody that nobody's going to watch, suppose your top guy gets, like, injured during that match, what was it all for? It doesn't make any sense. And I mean, the women's division in Ring of Honor being good, or women's championship in Ring of Honor being good, that is a stark contrast to AEW's women's division, which might as well not exist because of just how poor the focus is on it.
Well, and again, this is another botch, I think, is that...
Well, there's plenty of botches.
Yes.
We'll get to those too.
They had such great talent in the women's division and like barely utilize it. It's like they have the same like few people that are like at the top of like the card all the time, and then they barely use like a lot of their like more talented people. And again, like you know, they keep saying like, or he, you know, Tony Khan was trying to play it up as like, oh, we're not going to just be like, you know, like the where friggin' WWE superstars go to die, but yet like the
It's
top
worse.
star, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the top stars in the company are all former WWE people. Not to say that like, okay, you know, WWE is like the biggest friggin' promotion in wrestling. So like obviously you're going to get some people that have been in WWE before, but the fact that like he plays up that he's getting somebody from WWE, like when Ruby Soho came on, when CM Punk came on, like all these people, like he like does a special announcement to say that, oh, this person that just left WWE like 90 days ago, because that's as long as their friggin' no compete clause was for, is now in our company. Like, you know, he like plays it up, and it's like,
Yeah,
well,
like
dude,
everybody's a game changer.
exactly.
Like,
And it's like
really? Like, no disrespect to Ruby Soho, but I wouldn't consider her a game changer.
no.
To be fair, we've got Deonna Purrazzo, who could be, and then also if Camille from NWA shows up, that'd be good. But like, yeah, you know, the biggest not signing / non-signing is like, oh, Mercedes Monet might show up. You never know. Oh my God,
Right.
you know, there isn't that like, oh my God, look at this. I treat women's wrestling seriously. JK, LOL.
Yeah,
The
like,
ratings don't justify it.
yeah, like look at Soraya or Paige. For those who don't watch AEW, like they brought her in. There was this whole thing. She was on for like that's the other thing is he brings in so many people. He like puts the spotlight on them for like maybe if they're lucky the first full month of since they debut, and then they're in catering for like 6 months. Like, so how could I care about them being there? And like on top of that, he signed so many people, and every time he makes a big deal about about an ex WWE person coming in, you basically have just told me that none of your original talent, homegrown talent, are worth watching. Like you've buried your original guys by telling me, oh, it's only important when we get an ex WWE person.
Yes.
Like, so why should I care about Darby Allin?
Right.
You know, like why and they keep pushing people who can't get over too. Like Wheeler Yuta is a good wrestler, but like there's no reaction.
He's just got no charisma. That's the
Yeah.
problem. Like there's a lot of, you know, a lot of wrestlers throughout the years that like that haven't really been great on the mic or have not had a lot of charisma, but they were really good performers. And so
Yeah.
in WWE, when they're told what to say and, you know, kind of like given the script and given their character, okay, they can kind of like, you know, get to the top of the mid card. You know, some of them even like became like, you know, more legendary, you know, even if they weren't the greatest on the mic. I mean, Roman Reigns is one of them. He's the face of the company right now. And I've never thought he was good on the mic or really that great of a performer, but he just became the face of the company. But
he's gotten a lot better over the years.
That's
I will
true.
say that.
That is true.
I never thought I would be interested in watching anything that he was doing.
Yeah.
But I have been with the Bloodline storyline.
Yeah.
Although that's like really running his course.
Well,
I can't imagine them them like keeping him with the title any longer than WrestleMania. I know the Hulk Hogan streak thing is what people are pointing at and saying, "Oh, great, he's going to have this thing until September," which I can't see how you make it interesting. But we'll see if they do. We'll see what they choose to do.
Yeah. I think the problem is that, you know, these guys that come in that like they may be good wrestlers, but they've only ever worked the indie scene and they don't really have any mic skills at all. And they try to push them, and it's like,
and they also only know that style.
Yes,
which is not for the people that you want to draw on national television.
No, and I think the novelty dies really quick, even for like the like hardcore AEW fans that are like fans of indie wrestling. The novelty dies real quick when they see one of the indie guys on. Like, come on, like it'll be like they'll have like this big pop for a couple of weeks, and then like indie fans, I feel like, just get bored way faster than regular wrestling fans, and so it's
Oh
like,
yeah. Well, I
you're
mean,
not.
if you look at the type of match that an indie match is,
Yes.
it's like it looks more like it looks more like a sped up car accident than a
Yeah.
match
Yes.
sometimes.
Yeah. It's like that match that Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan wrestled, where Shawn oversold every single thing that Hogan did to him, and was just like flopping around the ring. That's like a typical indie match. Like,
Yeah, with
uh,
the occasional like weird like comedy thing interjected, which
yes.
it works in the vacuum of an indie show because you know what you're getting, but on national TV, it doesn't.
The only guy in AEW that I think that it works perfectly for, and that they should never change it, is Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy's
I would say Danhausen too.
Danhausen, yes, also to somewhat, but like Orange Cassidy is like, first of all, he should be like the face of the company right now, because he's like he gets the biggest pop, and I know this firsthand. I was just at the taping of Dynamite, or it was a double show. It was the taping of Dynamite, or no, the taping of no, it was Dynamite was live, and then it was the taping of Rampage. And like Orange Cassidy probably got the biggest pop that night, basically. So, and continues to do so. And like he did kind of have like a nice little run when he was the champion and stuff like that. And now they got him as the eight. This is another thing. I'll get to this too. Is AEW has way too many friggin' championships.
Oh my god, yeah.
Uh,
Every
uh,
other week there's a new title.
Yeah, so I mean,
Just
he's the
for
international
no
champion,
reason.
which I guess is supposed to be like the intercontinental champion. I don't know, because they also have an AEW Continental Championship. So I guess I don't know if that's supposed to be like the analogous to like the United States Championship, and then the AEW International Championship is the Intercontinental. I don't know
It's
what.
confusing.
It is very confusing. And then they have the FTW Championship, they have the AEW World Championship, they have the TNT Championship. Like, it's just out of control. The amount of championships they have. Plus, they have two different tags, because they have the regular tag team and then the trios, and then 2 women's championships.
Oh my
So
god.
it's just especially for the women, like like there's not enough like female wrestlers for them to justify having 2 championships for the women. I don't think right now. I would say if they had like a women's tag championship or like a mixed tag championship, I would be like, okay, that makes sense. But like they don't. So
There are 9 championship titles in AEW right now.
oh, plus there's like the ring that MJF had, the friggin' I don't even remember what that was.
That's like is that the briefcase thing?
It's not
kind of
like really. It just, I think it means you're like the kind of like the number 1 contender. I mean, maybe Spaceman knows more than I do on that.
Yeah, it's his diamond ring. Basically, it's just a battle royal. It's bragging rights.
The Dynamite Diamond Ring, that's what it was called. It
yeah.
was supposed to be like King of the Ring or something like that.
Yeah, basically it's just a thing that MJF could like hang his hat on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like it's a thing for them to be like, this is the week we do this. Well,
and that's another thing and another big problem with AEW is that they do way too much on regular TV, and they don't save anything big for pay-per-view.
Right.
Like the pay-per-view.
Sometimes half the time the rematch is the pay-per-view, where it's like, wait, why is this the rematch?
And it just feels like a long episode of Dynamite, basically, that I'm paying $60 for. Like,
yeah, and also Ring of Honor also has like 6 championships, so you have like 15 championships between both brands. That's a lot. Anyway, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Also, why do you have the AEW guys on Ring of Honor? Like, it should have been the developmental territory, because that's all Ring of Honor really was like the farming system for all of for the bigger companies. Anyway,
speaking of developmental, I want to just also AEW Dark, which I thought was a cool concept, but then literally became like indie guys jobbing to AEW stars. That's all it was.
Well, yeah.
And that was like, so it's like, what's the point? What is the point? Like, you're not developing these people. You're freaking like just having them job to your main roster. Like,
Right. Well, also,
I can answer
sorry.
that point real quick. Sorry. Basically, the point of AEW Dark and Elevation was if these people get signed somewhere else or with us, we have the footage of it.
Yeah.
It's not the best justification of this program existing, but that's what it was. It's like, all right, we're gonna get the local people, and like if they become like the LA Knight of this world, then we have the footage of it, and we can be like, hey, check it out. They were with us back in the day. Like I see like TNA being like, hey, we have Okada here. Remember how we fucked him up? Well, now he's the best person in existence, and he's the a free agent. Oh, John Moxley was also in TNA. CM Punk also was in TNA. We got the footage. That's what it was for.
Okay. Well, that makes a little more sense. But what the other thing that I was going to speak to was like why are there so many goddamn like why does Tony Khan feel the need to do these major announcements? And two, why can they not keep WWE out of their mouth? I know like Tony Khan has this like he has this weird like it's this weird type of promotion thing that he believes works that only he thinks that it still works where like it's some kind of a weird like I forgot what exactly he called it, but it's from this book where like you keep calling out your opponents and your competitors so that it keeps your name in the same conversation as them, and then other people will check your stuff out and you'll eventually be able to overtake it. It's some weird like it sounds like some weird frat boy bullshit to me. But that's like his logic for doing it, which I wouldn't really trust him and Logic to be in the same room together and get along. But it's a bad look now. Like at first it seemed kind of cool because they were doing it, but then they started going to the well way too many times, and now it's just like kind of embarrassing.
So here's what I'll say with that. So if like John Moxley came out and said these things, it'd be cool. If like Kenny Omega came out and said these things, it'd be cool. If like Adam Copeland came out and said these things, they'd be cool. But we're listening
Not
to a billionaire be like, haha, I got him. And it's like, I guess, but like it's not cool to hear Tony Khan talk. He's
No.
not cool to listen to.
And I
Where
will
like
say
if you just
very
let the
awkward
product
on
speak for
camera.
yes.
yeah, if you let like the product speak for itself, it'd be a different thing. Like when it was like, who's gonna show up? Will Ospreay's like, I'm going to show up. Give me 6 months. Let me fulfill my contract. I am going to show up, and I will be here. And it's like that's fucking cool. Like he wants to be here. We didn't need Tony Khan being like, "Hey guys, me and Will are best friends, and we're gonna hang out, and he's gonna be in my company."
Oh god.
Like they just let it
Speaking of,
breathe.
why does he feel the need to hug everyone?
Yeah.
It's super creepy.
I mean,
Like,
Triple H does like the weird like photo shoots, so like this is his
They always
version of
points at
that.
them.
Yeah, he does yeah, but it's one thing if you're just pointing at somebody next to you. You're not touching them. There's nothing that it's just like, okay, just take the stupid photo, just take the stupid picture with me. Okay. Like fine. Like yeah, it's cheesy, but like I can get over the pointing thing. If Triple H was like hugging every single person that he's signed, I'd be a little weirded out by that.
Yeah. Well, and again, I
And
think
like
that goes back to
it's
him being just a fanboy.
it's worse with Tony Khan because he looks like he's legitimately about to cry every time he's hugging them.
Yeah.
Like it's a tight squeeze.
Yeah. And I
Like
will say
like the
also,
picture of him hugging Claudio Castagnoli or Cesaro to those who don't watch AEW. Like he's like Cesaro / Claudio is visibly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
And,
just him being efficient, and he's just like, I could toss you so fast.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, also the other thing, back to like him signing all of these people, is like when he's signing all these people, like he makes it seem like he's gonna do something with them, and more often than not, these like ex WWE talents are in a worse place in AEW than they were in WWE. Because at least in WWE, even if they had like a shit gimmick because of Vince McMahon, they were at least on TV and doing something.
yeah.
They weren't
I
they weren't being used properly, but not being used properly is better than not being used at all.
I will push slightly back on that because we have Swerve Strickland, who, if he's not world champion by the end of the year, I will eat something alive on camera. We got Swerve Strickland. We got Adam Copeland, the former Edge, who like maybe it's not the most prominent storyline, but it seems like something he wants to do.
Yeah, I can respect that.
You know,
And
you mentioned
Swerve is in a better place. I will admit that.
yeah, and like we got Sarai, who like versus retirement, like this is better, I guess. Tony Storm, Timeless Tony, probably better than
She finally got it.
yeah, like she like that's better than it was. Ruby Riot / Ruby Soho, probably better than what she would get. You know, I feel like there's like some people where like other people like Andrade El Idolo didn't seem like super committed. Miro also might not be doing what they want to do. So like there's some people who seem to have like a better career because of AEW. And
Okay, I
like
can respect that. And also, you're gonna see frustration in any locker room anyway.
yeah,
Yes.
considering like you brought up before, there's so many people signed, there's only so many spots. I feel like it's like if you don't make the impression immediately, like we have options. Like Will Ospreay still isn't like a regular member of AEW, but he's signed to it. So like you know, this world class fucking dude's gonna show up, and you're doing what with your life? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the clock's ticking, like, and there's only so many hours of TV that go around, like, and then like Christian Cage, 50 something years old, shows up hating dads wearing a turtleneck. Like
Yeah. He is in a
you
better
never know what's gonna
position.
hit. you never know, and then like, exactly, like you don't know what's gonna fucking show up. So like if you're like looking for your next opportunity to be like, yeah, I'm going to show the fans who I really am. Maybe like, you know, TNA or something else might be the best option for you because I feel like AEW might be almost too big for some people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, unless you like hit hard and hit fast, you might not get the chance.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why the former Dolph Ziggler, Nick Namath, ended up going to TNA because it's just he has said that he wants to do Japan, and he also like it also seems like what would he do in AEW that is any different from what a lot of the other guys are doing. So like he like I feel like he probably made the better call going to TNA because it's
Also,
just too crowded.
TNA is more of that sports entertainment feel rather than AEW, which is more of the indie scene, which I
Right.
think he would fit in more with that since he was been in WWE for so long. You know, it makes more sense for him to go to another sports entertainment company.
Right. And they also, also too that they have people who look like they should be wrestlers. Like they're in good shape where AEW because they got the indie guys, a lot of them are just kind of skinny fat.
Yeah, and I think a big problem with that too is that AEW does not have a lot of big guys, and the big guys they do have, they don't utilize as they should be.
No. Like why hasn't Wardlow been champion?
Yes, Wardlow.
Why isn't Wardlow the one feuding with Samoa Joe?
Yes.
So, I will bring up my dad's favorite wrestler because he watches. I watch the only weekly program I watch is Dynamite. The one wrestler my dad loves is Big Bill, Bill Cassidy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Big Cass. Because he's like, oh, finally a wrestler.
Yeah, because he's 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like in the same vein, it's like if he saw Wardlow wrestle, he'd probably be like, "Oh my god, this guy's the best,"
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I do agree. It's like they don't recognize like like maybe some people appreciate a person of size just dominating someone because they're a big dude.
Yes.
Yes. Like
Well,
I will say, like this past week, which we'll get to the ratings eventually, but this popped a good number this week, but also um we had Hook versus Samoa Joe, which Tony Khan's bullshit on Twitter to justify it did not help, and I don't know who actually cared for him to have to make this to even go on Twitter and make a big thing about it. But when we'll get to Tony's tweeting too. Um Now on like if you look at Hook, Hook is Taz's son, he's a scrawny guy. He's like he like but he has like a big guy move set because like he's basically because he's son of Taz, he has Taz's ECW move set. But Taz in ECW was freaking jacked, and they booked him in a way where he was like legitimately terrifying, even though he was a small guy.
Listen,
Where like Hook, they book him the same way, but against Samoa Joe, who is just Samoa Joe and huge, like I don't think that it really like it should not have been as competitive as it was. And I get the story that they were trying to tell of like the David and Goliath thing, but it really wasn't believable to me. I feel like they should have given him some short bursts here and there, and that Joe should have just destroyed him like somewhat quick. And I think a cool angle to go from here, assuming that they even would attempt a storyline, is to have Hook's confidence being diminished now since he's got like a really big loss. So maybe he starts making mistakes and going on like a small losing streak before he like gets himself together. Maybe they have like, you know, set like backstage segments with him and his dad, and like Taz is like trying to like train him again, kind of like Mickey Rocky, and he like gets his confidence back up. He just goes away for a little while. He comes back and he's bigger and he's like more jacked and everything, and he's put on some muscle, and then he starts wrecking guys again outside of his weight class. Like he's like you give him the Rocky story, and eventually he beats Samoa Joe, and then he earns his respect or something, and that would be great. But
yeah.
they don't really do storytelling, so I don't
No.
think that would happen. I feel like they'll just act like that never happened. Nothing will be acknowledged, and he'll just go back to like destroying other people that where like it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
what I will say with that is I like all that, but I feel like almost like I did. I watched the match. I didn't feel like Hook necessarily was like, oh, this is just a job versus Samoa Joe. Like, to your point, like Hook is not the biggest dude, but like he is cut. He like
Yeah.
you said, he does big man moves. So like it fit into that storyline. So
But
like I,
but
I
because Samoa Joe is so much bigger than him, it's hard for me to believe that he could throw him around at all.
well, like he already did that with like Big Bill, my dad's favorite
Right,
wrestler. So it's
right.
like,
Which
oh,
even
like of
that,
course he's gonna do this. Like,
right. With
but
even
like,
that, I was like, that is not believable at all that
but
he could
like,
do this.
I don't know. I saw him like, just like it's a
Like,
good like if he's gonna take a loss, like let him lose to the world champion. You know what I mean? And then, like you
yeah,
said, like build him up to something else, and then eventually, like I love Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe is like one of my favorite wrestlers. Like my casual wrestling fans that I talk to like Samoa Joe because they're like He talks like a man. He looks like a man. He takes punishment like a man. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like, if he loses the championship, they're gonna be like, well, that's fine. But like, if Hook dishes it out to this guy, they're gonna be fine with that. And then later on, if it's like you said, like he comes back, and he's bigger and better, and he beats the shit out of Samoa Joe. That's great. Like, there's a storyline to that. So like, I'm fine with like him just like fighting, gorgeous man Hook, and then later on, like Hook just destroys him, and he's like, I'm coming for the world title versus someone else.
Yeah, like he comes back bigger, he comes back like jacked, and let's just say he like even shaves his head just to like
Yeah,
show he's serious. Like we need a
if
character arc if for all of this. But
Yeah.
they don't
if
do
Taz
that.
comes back as Master Roshi with uh with Hook as Goku, I'm fucking fine with that.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. I would fucking watch.
Yeah. But the problem is, they're not going to do that.
No.
Yeah,
'Cause
because
like
Tony
we
Khan's
said,
not a weeb.
no, there's also no planning. Like and then like what's worse is you have like shitty like dirt sheet writers. Well, I mean they're all shitty anyway. When like they're bullshit reporting and their like lack of anything because it's all just like made up bullshit that they decided might get people to subscribe to their like model. And like you have them like kissing their ass at every turn that they have. Um and then they're just like like the reporting is so bad and they're like defending AEW to the death because they want to get into the business so bad that they're like it seems like they're all trying to get a job with Tony. um and it's like and whenever they whenever they pop a good rating, they're always like, "Oh, well it was great and because it was a great show and blah blah blah," regardless of whether you think the show was good or bad. Um but then if the ratings are like not good, like they have been as far as like their if you like want to compare their starting numbers, like their numbers are good for regular cable TV because let's be honest, nobody really watches cable TV anymore. So they're like outside of like regular sports and I guess Big Bang reruns. Um but
I
like
mean, that is the lead in. I watched it on Sling. That is the lead into Dynamite.
yes, it is, which a lot of people speculate now that the number that the rating numbers are so high because of the lead in from the Big Bang Theory. So it's not people tuning in to watch it. It's people who are just like they happen to be finishing the Big Bang Theory and then they capture those people for the first like 5 or 10 minutes. So it technically counts because they haven't changed the channel. And they're also doing that with the overruns now too to try to capture the people who like clicked on for whatever show they wanted to watch at that time and they're like, "Oh, there's 5 minutes left of this wrestling show on." So they're clearly fudging the numbers, but but like what I was going to say was whenever the ratings are like not great, like let's just say there's like 900,000 one week and then the following week there's 600,000, they'll like blame things that have nothing to do with anything that a pro wrestling fan would be interested in watching to justify bad ratings. Like they'll say, "Oh, there was a Republican debate." How many wrestling fans do you know would decide that to watch a Republican debate instead of wrestling?
Not many.
No, not many. I understand if they're like it's one thing if
Maybe
there were
some
like
like
other
boomers or
sports
something.
on. I guess, but like how many I'm not even sure how many boomers would be interested in watching AEW because
Any.
that's not the wrestling they grew up with.
No.
So like there's so many holes in the logic or like I don't know, there was like a serial sweepstakes of the old Count Chocula cartoons or something and that's what caused that's what caused these people to leave. I would believe that more than a Republican debate, but like I don't think that many people would tune out to go watch like Alvin and the Chipmunks or something. So like I don't like it doesn't make any sense. It's like it's really only believable if there's like a bigger sport on, like if there's like a playoffs or a finals or something like that, then yeah, of course, because WWE gets killed by that too. But you can't you can't really you can't make the comparison. People just didn't tune in that week, and that's really all you can say. Um, Now, I like let's get to Tony's freaking tweets because that doesn't help either.
No.
Because every time anything does not go his way, or something bothers him or upsets him, or anything WWE related happens that happens to show up AEW in some way, he decides to go on like a giant meltdown that he thinks is helping the product. It's not. It's freaking embarrassing.
Yeah.
To the point where like even the USA Network like trolled him over the Jinder Mahal thing. Like I don't understand it. Why doesn't he have a social media PR person to do this for him? And who is letting him do this? Don't they have a legal team that should advise him don't do this?
Probably, but
I mean, this is also possibly the worst legal team in the world,
yeah.
where all they do is just throw NDAs at people. Which an NDA, we'll get to that in a second, but an NDA is really just to make sure that somebody doesn't expose company like company secrets like that could aid their competition. Where like if it's an NDA for something that isn't like this part of the secret sauce, I'm not even sure that you really legally can even give someone an NDA and it would hold up in court if it's for something that has nothing to do with that. Like if it's something illegal, then like like we'll get to the brawl in a bit, but like if it's just something like let's just say a backstage fight, they're not revealing trade secrets.
Yeah.
It's just two people were fighting and these things happened.
Well,
like it doesn't make any sense for an NDA. Or like there's this Jericho thing that's
the
new
Jericho thing I was going to
where
mention.
like if it's a sexual harassment related NDA that you made them sign, like would that even hold up in court? Because
No.
sexual harassment is illegal.
Yeah, you can't sign an NDA that like protects illegal activity. That's not how NDAs work. It's like you said, it's just to protect trade secrets in a company. And if a company's doing something illegal, that's not a trade secret, it's an illegal activity. So an NDA, it does not apply.
No, which
now, I mean,
I hope
obviously,
I hope other people get. I hope people who have signed these NDAs that would like to retaliate speak to a lawyer about this, and that we are not giving legal advice. Let me preface that. But we are people who are not lawyers, and we're like speculating as to why you would give someone an NDA for something that has nothing to do with revealing trade secrets.
maybe Jericho's casting couch is a trade secret for.
That could, I guess. What if it's a recruiting tactic? Oh no. Surprised he hasn't tried to do the couch of Jericho to like lean into it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh God, that would be.
Anyway. Like why doesn't Tony Khan have a PR person? What is the deal with the tweets?
I almost feel like it's almost a thing where it's like Tony Khan is like, this is the people I trust to like keep this company going, and it's like, oh no, I trusted the wrong people. So maybe that's what's going on with all that. Like he's like, oh no, you're supposed to be one of the good guys. Like that's the only thing I can think of.
That could be like. I mean, I could see him trusting everyone because he just wants to be liked and he wants everyone to like be his. He wants to be friends with these people. Where like if you know wrestlers are very greedy because this business is all about money. So they're all like, yeah, we'll be your friend, and they're just gonna like take him for as much money as they can to like just because they know the gravy train is only gonna last so long. So like, excuse me, they're not looking out for his best interest. They're looking out for their best interest, which, you know, I can't say that I blame them, but it's just, yeah, I gotta agree with you. Maybe he is starting to realize, oh no, I trusted the wrong people. What do I do? But also, I mean, he could also probably just shut it down whenever it's just not fun anymore, and he'll just sell it. So, it's not like I don't really know where his like I'll never know where his head's at on this, and honestly, I'm not even sure where. I'm not even sure what planet his head's on.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, I guess what you're trying to say is like maybe his tweets are like just an expression of like the whatever the real meltdown is that he's having behind closed doors.
I almost feel like his tweets are like I've said before, like this is him like if he had zero, if he had like 3 followers, no TV show, this is Tony Khan just tweeting. It's just like, oh, he's a fucking billionaire, so we all see what he's thinking, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a product of his privilege. He's just the one we all listen to where it's like, oh, like I guess this guy who's in charge of arguably like the number 2 wrestling company in the world can just tweet whatever we feel like, and we have to listen to him because it's better than just having no competition whatsoever at this level.
This is why we need to stop equating intelligence with wealth.
Yeah.
There is no real correlation. Anyway, the other list of things. Um, is he really a Booker of the Year?
No.
I would say for year one,
Yeah.
yes. Year
Yes.
one, yes. Year two, questionable. Now, definitely not.
No.
Also, his competition for those years was Vince McMahon, and now, he was booking against Vince McMahon, so also people kind of looked the other way on a lot of things
Yes.
because they were so sick of Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Where now you've got Triple H running the show, and Triple H and Shawn Michaels running the show on like NXT and regular WWE like Raw and SmackDown, and they're kicking his ass
Yeah.
consistently, like, and now like people are starting to notice things because, well, Vince isn't there anymore, and they liked Triple H too. So it's interesting because he's clearly unraveling. Because he has nowhere to like now anytime that he's like trying to like badmouth WWE, it just looks bad and childish where like people would look the other way when it was Vince running it because they just did not want Vince there anymore.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've got to say is like you also can't which you also can't like the AEW fan base is also like the rabid fan base, like not the casual audience, not folks like you and I who have common sense in regular lives and things to do during the day. I mean the rabid AEW fans that do not. Well, the sun is a monster for them. We'll put it that way. There's they constantly prop up the ratings, and it's a problem because Tony does this too. They prop up the ratings when they're good, and they make it and the ratings are suddenly important when the ratings are over 1 million or close to 1 million or very high. But over the years, they've been declining. Like now, like they went from popping a million regularly in the first couple of years to now to, 9 and then 8, and now like every once in a blue moon they'll hit 9, but they almost never do a million now, and they've dropped to as low as 600,000 on October 10th, and they've they've slowly been getting a little bit. They've slowly been getting better. They came close to 900 last week, but it's been hard for them to stay above. It's been hard for them to like stay around 8 now. Like 8 seems to be this, like 8 something seems to be the ceiling now, and I don't know about next year. Next year, is it going to be 7? Is it feels like a slow bleed. But anytime there's like a lower rating, like I said, they have a million excuses, or they're like, oh well, the ratings don't matter. Suddenly, when they're not good, the ratings don't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah. So
Which
the ratings only matter if they're like winning in the friggin' key demo, which again is not even the most important part of the ratings.
no, so I don't understand. I don't understand that at all. If it doesn't matter when it's bad, why does it matter when it's good?
Right.
Like you can't have it both ways. Um, I don't know. I think we should talk about the brawl out and the brawl in and the whole CM Punk Bucks Elite thing.
Yeah.
And also, we'll get to the video game briefly, but the video game apparently, yeah, we can talk about the video game briefly right now.
I haven't
They
played it.
this
I heard.
game took the game took way too long to
Well,
make,
yes.
and they spent way too much money. They spent like, from like what reports and like have like shown, like the speculation is that they spent enough money to make a AAA game, like, or like a big budget video game, like hundreds of millions of dollars. They gave it to Kenny Omega, who, while he plays lots of video games, has never designed or programmed a video game in his life. So this goes back to him maybe trusting the wrong people with things. Um, I'm not sure why he needed to be anything other than the creative director of this, if you were going to put him in there at all, which I would not have. Um, don't give someone who's never made video games the lead on a video game, especially when you're banking so much money on this thing. Uh this game, I've played this game. It's fun for a little while. If you just want to play something to turn your brain off and just do exhibition matches, it is pretty fun. But not for $60.
Yeah.
It's not worth a full price of paying this game. And with all the DLC, which the game was which tells me that the game was unfinished. And I think the THQ Nordic guy had, like, one of the programmers had said that the game was not finished and it wasn't ready, but they pushed it anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, that shows. But if you buy the game and the DLC, it'll set you back more than $100. And this game is not worth more than 25,
Yeah.
like, for what it is, and for how little you got when you bought it at full price. Like, if it was if it was a $25 game, even like a $30 game, I would have picked it up on the first day. But I'm not paying $60 for this thing.
I mean, I feel like it's almost like we are building the foundation of a series, which I feel like this is what it is. Like, this is going to be like maybe not the best version of this game, but they're doing a iteration of this, and there might be some DLC bullshit, but they're hopefully refining this, and then the next game will be better. I feel like that's hopefully what's going to happen. You know, they don't have the luxury of like the 2K games where it's like, you know, it's basically the same thing with some minor tweaks. It's like, we are building this from the ground up. The upfront costs are going to be more. But, you know, personally, I haven't played the game, but I've seen the footage, and it's like, this doesn't look terrible to me. It's not a 2K20 like this is an abomination. You know what I mean?
No, it's not a bad game. It's just not priced properly.
I feel like a lot of that is just like we're trying to get the upfront costs covered so that we could do a second game and it will be better. You know,
Yeah.
it's a very much like we're trying to do an iterative experience, and like we don't have the luxury of like having the 2K dollars in front of us where it's like we gotta get this right the first time. It's like, you know, we just keep believing in us. We'll do it. You
The
know,
problem,
we're gonna keep advertising this every single Dynamite. You will see the logo. Please buy this game.
Mm-hmm.
yes. Also, why is Ric Flair there after they like made a whole thing after the
He's
Dark
got to
Side
sell
of
his mushroom energy drink that
Yeah.
will not kill you.
or
God.
It costs
Muchu.
it costs $22 for a 4-pack. It's got to be good.
Oh my
Woo! Sting
But-
wants him here. Sting said, "It's okay if he's here. Let my friend bleed all over you.
God.
Darby, please. It's fine."
Son, let me tell you something about old men and sexual predation and being a sexual predator. There was a time, the 70s, my son, Darby, when this just happened and no one batted an eye. And yeah, I'm
Listen,
sure that's
the consortium has besieged upon me the mushroom energy.
oh God. Yeah, I just like the whole hypocrisy of that where like after the whole
Yeah.
Dark Side of the Ring they denounced him and said they would never work with him, and here we are. And
Yeah, that's honestly like the biggest like Tony Khan. You just don't like you'll do anything to make some money. It's just like you'll condemn this man and then be like, oh, but we'll accept him being on TV as long as his mushroom energy drink pays his bills as he wanders around.
I don't get it. And we will also get to injuries, but I think everyone wants to. Let's talk about Punk and the brawl in and the brawl out and all that. Let's get that out of the way because we've been going for a while now.
Let's get out of the way. We're like 1 hour in.
Yeah, this is what people want to see.
Well, I mean,
I'll
think
put
the
a separate timestamp in the video as to where this comes.
the whole situation with Punk is just like I don't know. It was a stupid thing, and like it just shows like the chaos of like letting people like run the locker room for you instead of being like and here's the thing, like it's, you know, I think WWE for like the most part like kind of like self-regulated the locker room. Like if anybody caused trouble, they had wrestlers court and all that. But like also like if you did something really bad, like Vince would come down on you and you would be like in trouble. And I
Yeah.
think Tony is like afraid to yell at any of his friends, you know.
Oh, you
Quote,
could see
unquote.
it. It's a trickle down. Well, WWE is a business.
Not even
where
that. They're a publicly
AEW is a
traded
hobby.
company.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's tens of billions of dollars invested in this. You are not making waves. Where AEW, as we've seen, you know, you can make all sorts of waves, but like, you know, WWE, this isn't going to happen because like there's too much money involved.
Yes.
You are not going to be
Yes.
this person.
Right. I mean, perfect example of another backstage incident. Andrade and Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara's being a douche. Andrade is like, "I'm gonna punch you in the face." Tony says, "Don't punch him in the face." Andrade says, basically, Andrade says, "If I punch, well, I want out of my contract. I'm not gonna let you out of my contract. If I kick this guy's ass right now, will I like?" Will I get out? Will you take me out of my contract? No, I won't. Well, what happens to me if I punch him in the face? You'll be suspended. Okay, so I get to go home. That's pretty good. Can I, like, if I punch him in the face, will I be suspended without pay? No. All right. So he punches him in the face.
To be fair, which is pretty based.
Yeah,
you know,
like
you
nothing.
know, what else are you gonna fucking do? You know?
Yeah, not like nothing happens. Like so, basically, I get rewarded. I don't have to be here. I get to go. Like I'll go home and I'll get to actually like spend time with my wife probably. Then like yeah, and I'm gonna get paid. Sounds like a win-win-win for me. And I still get to
Yeah.
punch this
It's
guy in the
almost like they
face.
should have an HR department or something, but you know, whatever, you
Well,
know.
why would they need an HR department when they could just give everyone an NDA?
Yeah,
Anyway,
which is
so
not how NDAs work.
no, which is not how they work. Just like how Tony Khan's use of beliefs in what copyright infringement are not the same as fair
Yeah.
use. Anyway, to the brawl in. This was incredibly stupid. And yeah, like you said, like WWE is a business, AEW is a hobby.
Yeah.
Like so you could clearly see how the two things will be run and not run in their own way. Where like there really are not seemingly any consequences with AEW depending on who you are, and even for like Punk this time there were very minimal consequences.
Yeah.
He got suspended probably with pay,
Yeah.
and he was injured anyway, so he probably was like, well, you know, I'm gonna be off
I feel
TV and
like
I
that
gotta
might
heal
be.
anyway, so fuck it.
I
That
feel
might be
like
half of the reason why he did what he did, but also like, yeah, he was defending himself since they apparently like no one's disputing that the Bucks and Omega came in and kicked the door in.
yeah, but I feel like him being injured is like part of the thing where it's like there's a legal like thing where it's like, well, he is hurt, like you can't fire this man while
That's true
he's
too.
injured. Like no matter what he does, it's like, oh, but you know, there's like a weird like thing where it's like, I
There's a
don't know.
technicality there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
You know,
yeah,
his dog was running around earlier, like, what are we gonna do? No. Uh I
yeah.
I I I, I don't know, like we can say all these things about I feel like we'll never know the true situation involving this like whole
No.
Yeah, we'll know in 10 years on when it comes out on Dark Side of the Ring.
Sure,
you know
Unless
yeah,
A Steel's
exactly. Well,
wife gets unless A Steel's wife gets like a very high ticket bidder to and like
yeah, unless we
sells.
get like Tony like old Tony Khan being like, "Yeah, brother, let me tell you what happened."
Oh
Like,
God.
you know?
Oh God.
And it becomes like a Hogan story.
Yeah.
You see
Listen,
CM Punk.
I slammed CM Punk was 400 pounds and I slammed him and I
Yeah.
fear for my life.
I feared for my life. CM Punk had a samurai sword. He was gonna cut me, but I blocked it with one hand.
I used my body pillow to deflect.
It was a
Uh,
Cesar. It was a Claudio Castagnoli body
I
pillow,
have told this to
which
Chris
he
before,
hugs
but
nightly.
I'm gonna say it on the podcast. The thing when Tony Khan said that he feared for his life from CM Punk yelling at him, the only thing I could think of is George Costanza when he's a bootlegger and he gets arrested, and then he's sitting in the police station and he's like, "Why did the policeman have to yell at me?"
yeah, it's like CM Punk, the like worst fighter in the UFC.
Yeah.
You're terrified of him when like you didn't have anyone else who could stop you. But like at the same time, like CM Punk should have like more maturity than he had.
Oh no,
He's
Allegedly,
very full of
being
himself.
allegedly,
he
like
should.
yeah, like it's like you're gonna be baited by a man named Jungle Boy to fight somebody. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Like
Well,
I mean,
apparently, CM Punk has always had like a massive ego that's been like well established, and it's to the point where apparently Dana White refuses to let him ever fight in UFC again. Dana White
yeah,
does not like him at all. Says
Well,
he all he does is talk shit. He has no skills. He has no athletic ability really, besides being a wrestler. Like he
yeah.
has no actual martial arts ability.
Yeah,
yeah, like
I've heard from a few people from when I when I interned at WWE, I had heard from a few people that Punk was just like always very grouchy and like no matter how much they gave him, it was never enough, and he always found something to
That's
be
why,
He
like
just
pissed
seems
off
like
about.
he seems like a bad hang. Like
yeah,
if you hang out with him and you're a friend, are you just gonna be like on his shit list later on? You know, are you gonna just be an empty-headed dumb fuck eventually? You know, like he never like even the people are like, "This is my best friend." He's like, "I've never talked to this person in 7 fucking years." You know,
Yeah,
like he just doesn't seem like he's not a likable person. So like maybe the rumors about him are true. Maybe he's just awful, and occasionally he manages to woo like these WWE diva ladies, and I don't understand. But like at the same time, like I said before, like he's good at pro wrestling, and it's infuriating because like I'd hear all these bad things about him, and then he'd be like clotheslining people and shouting like Kojima, Kojima. I'm like, ah,
yeah,
fuck, you know, I don't want to root for you.
yeah,
You ah.
yeah, he knows how to connect with people. Like he's very good at that. But yeah, I mean, like with the whole brawl out thing, because like we're like we haven't quite gotten past a lot of it, but like you know, it is part of an immaturity thing, and like there is also part of what we said with like the dirt sheet reporters, how like it was pretty obvious that the Bucks are Dave's boys, and Dave
yeah,
Meltzer was being fed all of this like stuff from the Bucks, and Dave, who does not like CM Punk at all, him and Brian Alvarez, they clearly have something like a vendetta against him. They they dragged him through the mud. And a lot of these other reporters, like, well, these, I want to, and I use that term loosely, a lot of these hacks, like Sean Ross Sapp or whatever, also went on the bandwagon to stay in AEW's good graces, and they buried Punk to, like, about how he's this terrible guy and everything. Then you have people like Jade Cargill who was like, yeah, they told me to use a chair. I never used a chair, and I was like, how do I even do this? And nobody would help me. And then Punk showed me how to use a chair. Where like
But I mean,
or you
to be
do
fair to
have
Jade
like
Cargill, she did say like Tony Khan was her best boss, considering like WWE has done fucking nothing with her. Like,
I mean
mm,
she's clearly not ready, so she's training more.
Well, listen. Two things can be true at once, though. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Punk could have shown Jade Cargill the ropes. He did help some other guys, but that doesn't stop the fact that he has a massive ego
Yes.
and like tried to insert himself as this like locker room leader, despite
Yeah.
like most people saying, "Well, no, you just got here. Like, you can't just like insert yourself as like the top guy in the company just because you
Well, let
think
me
you
tell you
are."
something, brother.
Yeah, right. That's not how it like every company works differently.
Yeah,
It's not going to
Yeah.
work that way here. And also
Yeah,
like
he tried to insert himself into a locker room full of self-made men and being like, "Let me tell you how it's done the big leagues." It's
yeah,
like we know, we fucking made this company, bro.
right, well on top of that, if they have like legends like Arn Anderson and you know and Jake Roberts and Tully Blanchard and all of these legends who no one comes up to no one asks advice and they think that they don't need to take advice from, then why would you think that they're going to come in and listen to you? It makes no sense. Like, and also, like, they're paying you a lot of money. If they want you to, like, just, if people want to come, if people want to come to you for advice, they will. Just let them know, hey, I'm here if you want to if you want to ask me any questions or anything. That's all you have to say. And, you know, I really, like, it was kind of stupid and weird for Hangman to, like, do the promo, but also this speaks to Punk's immaturity. Like he
But
could have
if
just
you
let
listen
it.
to his full promo,
He
like
could have just let it go.
his full promo is like, "I'm bad at listening to advice. I'm trying to work on it. Like, you know, I'm I'm dealing with these things. And CM Punk was like, "Fuck you! I'm gonna do snowflakes in the ring. Fuck you!" It's like, bro, you're 40 dealing with like a 20 something. Like, you know, there's a chance to be a veteran, and you're just being like, "Fuck you, you piece of shit, workers! How dare you talk to me about workers' rights when I'm making my own program for myself."
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even get to that, but like, yeah, after the brawl out, like, there was the whole thing, which, yeah, the Hangman thing started it, but it, like, it didn't even matter, because, like,
Not even that, like every program
Punk's,
was people being like, "Oh, CM Punk, you talk a bunch of shit, and you're a fucking weak ass bitch," and he's like, no, no, let me refer to you via this like photo of you in middle school at my signing." Haha, gotcha.
yeah, like,
Like,
the thing is, like, he did not have to, like, he should have been the bigger guy to, and, like, just walk away. Like, if you really felt like it, like, who cares? At the end of the
let
day,
me
who
let me
cares?
let me cut a promo at you at Chicago, and we'll see who's the real man.
It, there was no reason for him to, like, take the bait. And the same thing goes for the Jungle Boy incident. Okay, Jungle Boy doesn't want to listen to advice. I want to use real glass. And then everyone else is saying, don't use real glass. That's freaking stupid. And then, like, then Punk decides to interject himself and says, you can't use real glass. I'm shutting it down. All right, maybe he is looking out for your safety. And, like, but at the end of the day, if the guy wants to use real glass and everyone is telling him not to use real glass and he's being an idiot, let him use real glass and see what happens.
Are you talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling star Jack Perry?
Sure.
I mean, it seems
He just
like
seems like an idiot. I like
yeah,
just
but
let him
like
do what he wants to do. Like he'll
yeah,
learn the
but
hard way.
Right, but
yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, like, it really isn't Punk's place to go in and say, like, no, we're shutting it down. Like,
No,
first
it
of all,
isn't.
where is Tony Khan in all this? Like, why is he not saying, like, hey, that's a bad idea. I don't want my guys to get hurt. He just like
That's
just
the super fanboy thing.
I guess he was
He's like just gonna let people do things.
too busy doing adrenochrome in the bathroom.
I was
Probably.
gonna say he's got like plenty of other friends who could also fill the gap. Like I feel like he's just like it's almost like he doesn't feel the need to like put us up to it because he's like, if someone told me this was a bad idea, like they would tell me. Like, but I'm gonna let the boys be the boys, and
I mean, this.
I'm not gonna micromanage like Vince McMahon. Like, this is my alternative.
I mean, this also speaks to how like why he should be doing this because this is one thing. Like all of the injuries and the poor doctors that and like the terrible doctors that they have, if you could even call them that. Like, I feel like their doctors are people who lost their medical licenses that they just picked up for cheap. Because how do you not know how do you not know a concussion when you see one? And how do you let the match continue? They almost killed Matt Hardy on TV
Yeah,
and let
yes.
him keep going. Um,
Well,
or and then you have the
John
other
Moxley was
concussion.
like, we
You have
we
the
we need a
Moxley
boy in the
concussion with
back to
Ray
be like,
Phoenix.
no, he's like we need someone to be like, oh, this will work, or like, no, you need to check on him. You know, there needs to be like the go between, be like, no, you need to stop this. Like he's not working anymore.
Right.
I get it, but like I
But
don't.
at the same time, that's like the whole point where you have doctors that are like, that have a concussion protocol that like check and see if he's not like,
Yeah,
like that's the whole point. And like, I feel like almost like they have the doctors as part of the work. Like it's like, oh, the doctors are coming out to check him, and it's like just a
Yeah,
work.
Doc Samson shows up like every like couple weeks. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't get it. But anyway, the whole like Jack Perry incident. Who cares? This guy's a loser. Like, why do you care what he's like? Why do you care if he's disrespecting you? Just move on. Like, go about your business. Go do the thing. You're the top guy in this company, like, or one of the top guys in the company. Who gives a shit what this like guy, what like the guy on like in the mid card is that like wants to do about like a glass thing? Does it like
Yeah,
you gave him advice? You told him not to do it. He's an idiot. Let him do it. It's
yeah,
not your
like
fault if he gets hurt. All like if he gets like if he uses real glass and let's just say he like cuts himself up really bad and he's disfigured or whatever, or he has to go to the hospital now because he's a moron. Just tell him this is what I was trying to like visit him in the hospital and say this is what I was trying to stop you from. I hope you learned something and just that's it. If you want to say anything to him at all, like just tell him off after and say this is why we told you not to do this. Do you see?
yeah,
No?
like
Okay. Then I have no hope for you.
yeah, like my dad, who like is the most casual of all wrestling fans, is like he hated Jungle Boy because for one, his name is Jungle Boy, and he's like, how old is this person? But like he's so like slight in body type of a person where it's like he's not like someone who's like, oh, like it's junk. Like if he was built like Luchasaurus, he'd be like, oh yeah, I love Jungle Boy, but he's not. And then he's like being like causing drama and shit. He's like, I don't give a shit. Like he's gonna get his ass kicked either way. So it's like, if he's gonna, talk about like, oh, I'm a real man now. I'm Jack Perry. I don't care about like the glass breaking my body. It's like, well, you're not to like people like my dad, like it doesn't matter because you're still Jack Perry, like Jungle Boy, like 170 pounds, and you're gonna get your ass kicked either way.
Right. Nobody cares about you. Like,
Like I like him. Like I like Jungle Boy. Like he's a great like baby face and like he does good moves, but like he's not someone I'm like, oh, like he's gonna like legit knock somebody out unless it's like
Yeah.
he's fighting like those lower tier. I don't want to even say lower tier, like the smaller body weights. Like if he's fighting Conor McGregor, sure, why not? Whatever the fuck, they're the same body type. Like
Yeah.
go at it.
Well, if they had like almost like a featherweight division in AEW, like that would be like, or like, similar to a cruiserweight, but like only like really smaller guys. Like,
I
that
would
could
even say
probably
like
work.
they need to do that, but with also women. Just like do like the cruiserweight, but like intergender. Like
Yeah.
that's the one That's the one title they need to add.
Yeah.
uh, well, anyway, back to this thing. So he uses real glass in the match with Hook at Webley, and then because he's immature too, he takes a shot at Punk, knowing that Punk will take the bait. Why would you do that? He already has an altercation, unless
Mhm.
like some people speculate that the books put him up to it. I don't think so. I think this was on his own accord because he's
Yeah.
an idiot.
I
So
feel
he
like
makes
it's almost like
so he makes it
if you're trying to like be like he's been established as like, oh, you're one of the four pillars, like you're gonna be the future of this company. It's almost like I'm gonna put this on myself where I need to defend the company against this interloper. Like I will take the hit. I will fucking beat up, not even beat up. I will take the punch from CM Punk to get him out of here, and I will. History will remember me.
I suppose maybe that was the thought. I don't know. It just seems like an idiot doing something that you expect them to do. But he uses real glass in the car, and then it's funny. He says the thing, and then you see him like immediately after, like he gets this like look of woe on his face where he's like, and he starts checking himself for cuts and stuff. So it's like the adrenaline wears off, and he's like, "Oh God, this hurts." Like which was dumb. And then he goes backstage. Who do you think is waiting for him? Punk Punk grabs him or he punches him in the face. He gets him in a front face lock or whatever. Very like from Samoa like it seemed Samoa Joe will tell you this was a pretty normal thing for like a wrestling company to have. Another backstage scuffle at a wrestling company. Okay, no big deal. Somehow something happens where Tony Khan, like
Well, apparently the fight
a
happened in
TV,
Gorilla.
yes, apparently supposedly a TV monitor fell on Tony Khan and he freaked out, or CM Punk screamed at him or
Yeah.
lunged, and like the vernacular used is lunged, which we don't have security footage, so
No.
what does that even mean? Does
He
that
was
mean he
probably like
stepped?
walking up to get into Tony's face and somebody like held him back and Tony thought he was like, "Oh my god, I'm fearing for my life." And
Probably, but like
yeah.
this is also the same guy who now says, "Oh, it's the safest company." Like weeks later, where it's like
But
it
it's
can't
not.
be the safest company if you were the same guy saying you feared for your life.
Well, that's also a blatant lie again, like what
It
we talked
is
about before, where like they don't protect their wrestlers, their talent at
right.
all. And their concussion protocol is not good.
It's
You know,
non-existent.
no, it's like that's not safe. And like everyone wants to rag on WWE because of all like the wrestlers that have died that were like WWE guys, but it's like wrestlers die in general. Like professional wrestlers in general have a shorter lifespan than most other professions, just by the fact that like the abuse that they put their bodies through, the drugs they take to cope with all the shit that they have to go through, like a lot of times the steroids, like all of that kind of like adds up, and yeah, so wrestlers have a higher mortality rate. WWE has taken large, big steps to prevent as best they could by really updating their wellness policy, including the drug testing and also their concussion protocols and all that. Like
Right. It's
since
not
the
perfect, but
right, it's not perfect.
it's getting there.
Exactly.
It's getting better.
Yes.
I also feel like AEW doesn't publish their like welfare policies, so like we don't know what their policy is. So it's
Right.
hard to say like, oh, this is really good or this is really bad. Like you're saying, like WD, publicly traded company, we know the steps they've taken. We don't know what AEW is doing to protect their wrestlers. Besides, like we're assuming it's for the best, allegedly.
Right, but also you have but how can I believe that where you have Moxley getting a huge concussion early on in the match and then getting dropped on his head multiple times by Ray Phoenix, instead of the referee like calling the match and just stopping it, he decides to pretend that Moxley kicked out for no reason, and like and freaking within like 30 seconds, Tony Khan comes out and he's doing the Dante Martin dance,
Yeah.
which is the most irresponsible boss thing you can do. Vince McMahon, say what you will about him and his personal life and his like the awful things that he's done. When Undertaker was knocked out at WrestleMania 30 by Brock Lesnar, Vince McMahon was in the ambulance with him going to the hospital.
Yeah.
That's a response. Like, say what you will about Vince McMahon, the person. Vince McMahon, as a boss, as the owner of the company, that was responsible.
He always tried to do what was
For
best
that
for
one
business.
man.
Yes, for that
Well,
moment, that was a
definitely for
that was the
Undertaker is his
responsible thing
baby.
to do. He is,
Yeah.
but that was the responsible thing to do. Why is Tony Khan going out dancing with Dante Martin when his guy is in the back with a bad concussion, going to the hospital? Why is the why does Matt Hardy have to continue the match when he just when he like probably suffered some form of brain damage from
Yeah.
overshooting a table spot
Yeah.
and hitting his head on the concrete from like a 16-foot ladder?
Yeah.
Why is that allowed to happen?
And then does that ridiculous spot off the Titantron like right after that.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that was like, like it wasn't only like that he did that and he like friggin' hit his head on the concrete. He literally had a spot where he jumped off the Titantron like very like shortly after that which was a concussion. I don't care what anybody says. They tried to like
Yeah.
brush it under the rug, but he got a concussion.
Yeah.
Because you could tell right away when he was like so dazed when he got up, he had no idea what was even happening.
Yeah. I'm sure. And now he like walks with a severe limp. It's like not good.
No.
Like then you have
he
a bunch of other
he
people who are injured now. Like, why is he allowing Bryan Danielson to wrestle with all these mounting injuries in place? Like,
I feel like he trusts his wrestlers to like self-report.
but their
And
wrestlers have a history of underreporting any injury they have for
Yes.
the entire history of the business. You should not trust when a wrestler says I'm
but
okay.
like if
You
he
should not
says
take
like
their
you
word
can't
for it.
wrestle, then he will like he doesn't have like the backing of like he can't blame someone else. He's got to be like, oh, like I can't let you do this. It's like he can't be like, oh well, like the board of directors or like you know he he's unwilling to say like I need to do the best for you. Um, so like he's gonna try to work with them because a lot of the people in his company are people who have suffered like those level of injuries where it's like you shouldn't be wrestling, but it's like, well, maybe we can make this work. So like if he says no to one person, then people are gonna say like, well, why don't you say no to these people?
He has to be a real leader and step up, which he can't do because he's the Nepo King. He has never faced any real adversity in his life. He was born with a gold spoon in his mouth. It's impossible for him to know how to do anything
Well, and
because
I
he was
also
surrounded by people who always told him he was great at everything. They always told him yes. They never said no. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you see it on his Twitter meltdowns. Like why would you even respond to like a guy with 3 followers who like isn't a billionaire, not even a millionaire, like just a regular person? Why are you like going after this person?
Well, and
It
I
like
also like it's not even the like Twitter and the wrestling, like even like apparently Jaguars defensive end Yannick Ngoku like has called Tony Khan spoiled because I guess they had a confrontation on Twitter and then
yes.
he was eventually traded to the Vikings over it.
Oh,
So
that
like
doesn't surprise me.
it's not even like just like the like whole wrestling thing. Like he's just like again like he like you said he's a nepo baby, and
No, I know. Even Fulham's coach had like said that he was an embarrassment.
if he was smart about it when he started the company, he would have hired somebody to promote for him that was like a veteran of promoting. You know,
Right.
someone
Instead,
like
he
Cornette or
hired.
something like that.
Right. Well, apparently he reached out to Cornette for like to work with him, and Cornette was like, "If you're getting the elite involved, I'm not doing this."
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
do we want the Jim Cornette involved? I
Let's
don't
do it.
want to
uh,
see that company.
to I suppose he'd be good at booking, but I don't really know. But I don't know. I mean, he would probably have quit within a month anyway
I'm
because
sure he
of
would have
like
quit.
all the
I just
talent
want to see
involved.
a bunch of people fucking punch each other for 20 minutes and then fucking whatever the fuck. I don't want to see any fucking entertainment going on around here. I just want to see some wrestling.
Wrestling.
Well, anyway, my next thing is, and before like the last bits that we'll wrap up is one, he hired the wrong people. Like we said before, he should not have. The elite should not like wrestlers should not active wrestlers should not be your VPs. People who have never had corporate positions before should not have VP positions. They shouldn't
Yeah.
be. They really shouldn't be. And well, whatever it is that he's covering up with the casting couch of Jericho, that will probably come out on its own, whether or not it's just Jericho getting really drunk again and exposing himself via Twitter, not to some poor soul in his hotel room, um, or just it'll come out eventually because
I will say,
he'll
I
breach
think
an engine. Something will.
in one of
I
his
think something will come out.
in one of his books, he talks about drunk driving and driving around like a hotel, like
Oh God.
Yeah. So like,
I mean, if you want to find out what kind of a douchebag Chris Jericho is, just read any of his books.
yeah, if you read all of his books, it's like this. Why do
Anyone,
we like
doesn't
this guy?
matter.
Why? Yeah. Why do we like this guy? I don't understand. Like, I read all three of his books. They're all painful. Like,
They
you
all get
know,
worse
it.
because he gets more full of himself with each book.
Yeah, he's just like, look at me, I'm doing the best. You know, I somehow managed to not orgasm in this woman. Like, oh god.
Yeah, it's weird. It gets weird. He has become everything that he said that he was against when he was in WCW.
Mm.
But this is not the roast of Jericho. This is AEW.
One of these
Jericho is
days
a
we're
part
gonna
of
do a
it.
Jericho
Uh,
pod. I'm ready
uh,
for it.
oh yeah, yeah. But yeah, so he obviously hired the wrong people. People are leaving in droves now.
Yeah.
Like they just got rid of the. They just
Are
got
they
rid of
really
what
leaving
was
in
it like?
droves though?
All right,
Is it
you're right. That's an exaggeration. It's like 4 people who left.
it's
But
it's more like he doesn't want to fire anybody, so like it's just like, all right, my contract ran out, I'm leaving. But
well,
like
I mean, like in the
he
corporate
does,
office, the people who are leaving. So like the Bucks' wife, right?
but
The Bucks'
like
Yeah.
the
wife. She she was
yes,
not
but
good with the
also like
t-shirts.
yeah, like first of all, like I will say like, maybe she doesn't need this job, but also like I don't feel like one of the things I'll say about AEW is their merchandise is not good. Um,
No, it's
so
not any. They don't sell any shirt that I would want to
yeah,
wear.
I've
Like,
I've
how many
I,
people? How many people wear the bloody Britt Baker shirt in public?
yeah,
I
and like
like who want and if you saw somebody wear if you had no context of this and you saw someone wearing a shirt of a woman with her face covered in blood, what would you like what would you think?
yeah, like I read the Young Bucks book, and like it sounded like she was really good at like doing that stuff at that level where it's like, all right,
Yeah, I can believe that.
we're gonna handle these things like for these couple people, and we're gonna do like this small business. And now all of a sudden it's like, all right, but what if you do this at like a like $1 million level, and like that's a big leap for anybody. Like I don't
Yeah.
fault her at all for being like, I'm walking away from this.
Yeah,
Like
it's I wouldn't put the blame on her for this. It's like too big of a job for her to be doing by herself at that level. Like it's just something that there's no way she could have been prepared for this unless she had worked in the corporate world and done it, which she didn't. You know,
yeah,
she
it's not
only
even
knew how
that.
to
It's
do
just
it
like a
at a
lot of the
very basic
merch just
level.
a lot of the merch just isn't good. Like you're letting like the
Right.
wrestlers create their own merch, and a lot of it just doesn't look good. It's like I'm not gonna spend $30 on a T-shirt for this shit you like wrote up on Fiverr, like, and that's not on
Yeah.
her. Like it's part of AEW's system of like let the wrestlers make their own shit, and like the Young Bucks come out with a shirt like every week. Like the big guys come out with a shirt every week, and it's like I don't want this. Like, make a good shirt and I'll buy it, but they can't do that.
Right. It's just too many. It's too many shirts. The designs are not good, and like they're also not good at stocking them in inventory. Like you'll only see a hand like most of the shirts that you'll see are like elite shirts, AEW like company shirts, and that's about it. You can't get any of the other shirts at
I
like a
but
merch booth
and
really.
I've noticed at the live shows they stock out they like sell out of
They
shirts very
understock
fast.
too.
Like you could go to the merch booth in the middle of the show, like not even at the end, and they're out of shirts. Or like out of certain shirts, basically. Like they
I'm
don't
gonna run
ever
to the
stock
bathroom real
enough.
quick. But
What's
you're
that?
right. No, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom real quick, so you guys continue amongst yourselves for a minute.
Well, if you want, we can just wrap it up.
No, no, no. It's not. It's not a number two.
Oh, well,
We have other things to talk about, but we're still talking about hiring the wrong people. So keep talking about this.
oh. Well, I think you know, like not hiring somebody who's like been a veteran of the business like for a long time that could book, that's like the biggest mistake. Especially because like Tony Khan has no clue and he like just listens to like people that are trying to like make their own like bank, they're trying to fucking make their own living. So of course they're gonna like promote themselves over everybody else. And like it's just a stupid thing that he like, you know, didn't actually get anybody that was like, you know, like actually knew what they were doing or like, had been a booker for many years. And even like the talent that he does hire that have been in the industry that are veterans, like he barely utilizes them. Like, like Big Show, he hired Big Show and Mark Henry to do backstage interviews, and now you barely even see them ever.
But I feel like, from what I've heard, like they just want to be announcers. Like I don't know how much
That's
they.
that's fair,
I
but
feel
like
like Mark Henry said like he wants to recruit people, but like I remember Paul Wright, like the reason he left WWE is like I want to be an announcer. Like no, you're too big.
yeah.
Like
But that's fine, but like they barely utilize him even as an announcer. Like, it's like they have a huge roster which is just too like bloated with people that like should probably not even really be like where they are. Like they're like mid card at best, but they get like top booking a lot of them. And you just don't have time for to put everybody on that like is there because there's just too many people. And there's
yeah,
just a limited amount of TV time.
he's too like allegedly nice to just be
Yes.
like just go do your own thing. Like if he doesn't want the bad publicity of mass firings, but if he just let some people go, that would be huge for this company. Because you know, like I said, like he signed Will Ospreay. He's coming, but he's not here yet. But
Yeah.
we've known about it. Deanna Perrazzo for the women's division, he signed her. Like maybe Mercedes Moné is also going to be involved. Maybe Gulia is also going to be involved.
Yeah.
Maybe like Okada is going to be involved. These are like huge signings, but like you have 200 other people, but it doesn't matter because like you know, as much as I like the Young Bucks and John Moxley and Orange Cassidy, we know they're gonna show up. So like, there's only so many spots to go around. I feel like it'd be beneficial for like if you're like, we're gonna just have you at Ring of Honor or like TNA
Yeah.
or like NWA even. Like just like if there's like a feeder system, but he refuses to have Ring of Honor be an actual feeder system.
Yeah.
It's
Does
just like a
anyone know?
weird.
Does anyone know why Big Show and Mark Henry are still there? What do
They
they
want to be
do?
announcers.
We
And
were
I
just talking
think
about
Mark Henry wants to be like a talent scout. I think based on what I've heard, then like I don't mean to brag, but I met him a couple years ago and he seems fine just being like, hanging out and like being like, hey, this person could be a talent.
Okay, well, good for him. If he's getting paid a bunch of money to do something,
Yeah,
then good
he's
for
good at
him.
being a big scary man. He's like, hi, Fred. Like, you
Also,
know,
when do we get the Captain Insano debut and why?
he was already in vignettes. I have his T-shirt. It's the one thing I've bought in the past year.
He has a
um,
T-shirt.
yeah,
Oh
I
God,
have it. Um, um, but yeah, like he showed up
what was
for the.
what was that call like to Happy Madison? Hi, it's Tony Khan. Can I talk to Adam Sandler? Well,
I feel
why? Well, I
but
want to buy the rights to Captain Insano. You do? Hey, somebody wants. Hey, you got a minute? Yeah, sure. Listen,
listen, the
Sandman.
Captain Insano shirt is like that, like Iron Mike Tyson, like weird, like logo shit, and like I felt it, so I bought it. So it worked for me.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it's a shirt. Anyway,
Yeah, like if you
yeah.
want like a T-shirt that's like not exactly a wrestling shirt, but like it has like the Captain Insano like arc around your chest, like like all that shit. Like I feel I was more comfortable buying that than like the weird like British Combat Club. Like, yeah, I'll fight you, shit. Like, all right, I guess I'll do that. I'll do the Captain Insano as opposed to like, please don't fight me for real.
I guess. Anyway, yeah. Also, why is Excalibur there? He's the worst commentator. He's always yelling.
I will push back hard
I
on
I
this.
like Excalibur.
Okay. I don't like Excalibur. He's like it's just unnatural for him to be screaming all the time.
Well, I think he's a good like play-by-play
I
because
feel
he
like
he
the
actually
problem
knows
is,
all the moves. It's
yeah,
not listen.
exactly.
He does know all the moves.
It's not like listening to Michael Cole who fucking just makes up shit.
No, no, no. Michael Cole is the worst commentator of all time,
I
but
feel like
it's
the
become
problem
the
is
style.
AEW is like all play-by-play people. So you
Yeah,
have 12 interchangeable people who all know all the moves, but like
yeah,
Excalibur is the best version of that. And like
Oh
he knows
boy.
how to play off people where like it feels fun. It's not like when WWE people make a mistake and like Wade Barrett or fucking I don't even know. People make fun of like Michael Cole for mishandling like the calls. Where like in AEW at least they have fun. They seem to like each other.
All
Like people
right,
just be
that's
like,
good.
"Oh, Michael Cole, you don't know the fucking call, you fucking loser."
All right, I'll give you that. But should the EVP should the EVPs have should they hold these executive titles? I don't think so. Or at least
Only if they're gonna go like full on like Triple H
not
or
if
Vince
they're
McMahon.
I would say if it was for like a storyline thing and they did that, sure, but like they shouldn't have real office titles. I think after the brawl out they should have been stripped of their executive titles, but they just got the bullshit suspension. So I don't understand why that's still there, but
I almost
also
feel like
also where was the health care that they promised? That never happened.
yeah, that's rough. Healthcare should be like a thing, but I
yeah,
almost feel like the Young Bucks are good at booking themselves and no one else. Like I'm
yeah,
digging like the
Yeah.
like Nicholas and Matthew turn that they're doing, but I don't want to like I've never seen them like elevate other people. It's just like, oh, they know people hate them, so they're gonna be hateable. And
yeah.
having read their book, they're they're hateable people in real life.
Oh
you
boy.
know? Like
I mean,
so
but
like
also the other thing is just like I mean that does none of that surprises me, but also like if you've seen one Bucks match, you've seen all of them.
I don't know. I still think they are pretty. They're a little too like super kick happy
At least in their AEW matches, I
in
would say
AEW.
if
Yes,
you've seen a Bucks AEW match, you've seen every AEW match that the Bucks are going to have.
because
Their
when they were on
Japan
the Indies, they
when
were
they were in
really
the yeah,
good.
no, when they were doing PWG in New Japan, I love them in New Japan.
Yeah.
I can't stand them in AEW.
Well,
when they
again,
didn't have
I
the
think it's
filter.
I think it's the way they book themselves is the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, also, I'm not crazy about Omega in AEW. I liked his Japan stuff better, and
Yeah.
like I don't know. It's like I feel like they have too much power as active wrestlers, where it's a problem.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like if the
I think
Click actually had like fucking like corporate positions back in the
yeah,
90s,
yeah, like if they were
basically.
part of the office, that's what this would have probably looked like.
Yeah.
But I mean, now they do, but they're like not active wrestlers.
Right.
But it's like totally different. I mean, I think I think Cody Rhodes was the one who was trying to keep it professional, and he was trying to be the business end of things. And like I mean, you can see like after he leaves, which we'll never find out why. Um what like after he leaves, it starts to go a little bit sideways from there.
Yeah. I think
And
he was
Gotta
the voice
lose
of
to
reason.
Roman. Make
think
him
he-
look strong.
yeah, that was bullshit.
Throw
I
the
really
chicken at him.
I hope he doesn't lose to Rock this year or lose again to Roman. That would be the worst. Anyway, like, do we think that Tony seeing how Cody Rhodes was presented for his return at WrestleMania broke him? Or was that the start of his like spiral?
I feel like it's almost like, oh, like, you know, this guy left and he's a bigger star now, so I can do what I want because, like, I've proven that I can make them better than they were. So, like, I feel like it's almost the opposite. He's like,
Hmm.
yeah, man, like, I made Cody a WrestleMania main eventer, so now I can do whatever I want, and, like,
That's how
whatever I
he
touch
should.
turns to gold.
That's how he. Well, that's maybe that is how he looked at it, but I don't know. I mean, the other thing is like, I mean, I guess you could say he can make stars. They just don't work for him they just don't work for him after when they become stars. Like maybe his timing is off because Jinder Mahal seemed like a huge draw after that incident.
I almost feel like Tony Khan is good at booking, like, he's good at listening to people, but at the same time, like, he might be listening to the wrong people. Because I feel like I don't know if we brought him up, but like MGF had a good year, and
No,
I
we
feel
haven't
like
talked
that
about
was all.
MJF.
Yeah, that was all him. So he's good at getting out of his own way, where like WWE would like try to interfere. So like he's good at like letting people be who they are. Like Tony Storm's also a good example. Like Tony Storm
Yes.
had a character, but then like they decided to do this own thing as like, oh, this is fucking wild, this is good. And like there's plenty of opportunity for that, but he's not the person to be like, no, this is what we're doing. Like I am putting a stop to this. Like he can't say no. He rather say yes and see what happens. He
Right,
rather
but
he
if
rather
something's not
ask,
working, you need to start reining some things in.
yeah,
But he
he's
just doesn't.
more.
The problem is he's too much of a fanboy to know what's working and what's not. So he'll just
Yeah,
think everything is great, which is his favorite word.
he rather apologize rather than ask for permission. That's where he's at. He's like,
Hmm.
let me just sign everybody, and if they get over, that's great. That's all me. But if they don't, it's their fault. Where WWE
Which,
was just like, we're just gonna sign a bunch of college athletes and we'll see who rises to the top.
yeah, I mean both interesting approaches to both things. But yeah, I mean, really more than anything, Tony Khan needs help and he needs it from people who he can actually trust, people who are not going to just take his money and just only go into business for themselves. That's like really the main problem is that
Yeah.
Tony either needs to remove himself from leadership or give up a lot of his responsibilities to other people with the proper experience or at least start taking advice from the right people so that he can steer the ship in the right direction and become a real competitor with WWE. Because right now they're not. Or I wouldn't view them as a real competition. I would view them as
Well,
competition to Impact to TNA more than I would as competition to WWE.
Yeah.
well,
I
here's the
think
thing with
they, I
WWE.
think they have a chance, but I think he needs to make a lot of changes, and he has to
Here,
give up a lot of his power.
here's the thing with WWE though. Especially like recently, like WWE has embraced that they are an international like company. Like there are so many outside of not just like the United States, but like international pay-per-views. Like WWE is like since the buyout by Endeavor, like they're so beyond like everything else is regional. AEW like has so many like 80,000 people ish in Wembley Stadium. They're still a regional company compared to WWE. Like WWE is so much more than like they're truly embracing like we are going to be this like international company. We will do premium live events. Who gives a fuck when the elimination chambers on like 5 o'clock in the morning? Who gives a fuck? We're international. They're F-Zero. It doesn't matter. Like they can do whatever the fuck they want. They're still gonna make a fuck ton of money. Like
Right.
one rights deal for one of their shows is as much as AEW is going to make. Like AEW can be a great regional company, and regional means the United States and like Canada
Yeah.
and
Right.
probably Mexico. It doesn't fucking matter. Like no one's touching WWE.
Yeah.
WWE is the brand. Nothing's gonna fucking touch that. So like as long as they keep going on, but like they can still make an impact and be like, we are gonna do like an alternative brand, but like you know, it doesn't matter what WWE or Tony Khan does. Like WWE is still gonna be like, oh, we're just gonna do like a random pay per view somewhere else, and it's gonna fucking sell. WWE is the star.
Yeah.
Right. And Tony needs to understand that and stop comparing himself to them. And he needs to just ignore what they're doing and focus on his own product
Yeah.
and start getting the right people in the right position so that they can actually give him some real advice and actually do anything, assuming that he'll take the advice and assuming that he'll actually get the right people involved. But I don't think it's the elite. I think he's got to make some hard choices
I think
where
it's more like he needs to.
he can't
It's gonna
have
be
active wrestlers calling the shots for anything.
exactly. It's
'Cause
gonna be
it
like
doesn't
the
work that way.
Moxleys. It's gonna be the Moxleys, the Danielsons. It's gonna be those guys who it's like once you're done, like they're gonna be the people who guide this.
Yeah.
But until then, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, and also, I mean, their other issue with their ticket sales is that I mean, I think they hired I think they hired somebody else recently, um, with their ticket sales to help with like what is it, their event booking because they have this weird, they have this way of diluting their audience base and they run the shows way too close to each other, like in the same towns where it's like we're doing a show in New York and then we're doing a show in New Jersey where like who's going to go to both, like how many people are going to go to both shows, or
Yeah,
like
I've
they'll
noticed
go.
that being like I would like to attend the shows, and they're very much like they don't advertise these in advance, and
Right,
it's all very much
there's
in the
not enough
same region.
promotion.
Well,
Right, and
I will say,
on top
like,
of that, tickets are a little expensive, and also they go to a lot of the wells way too often.
well,
Like, how many times are they in Chicago? Where
I've seen
like
them.
no one cares.
I recently just saw them in Newark, and they it was like I said, it was a Dynamite live, and then Rampage was taped, and like a lot of people, like it was a decent amount there for Dynamite, but like once that ended, a lot of people left, and Rampage was like empty almost, and like even like towards the end of Rampage, like more people even left before the last match was over. And like by the end of the show, there was like literally only the people sitting in like the bottom tier, basically. There was nobody up in the upper tiers. So like their attendance is just not good enough to be doing these first of all, these like multi shows where they're doing like these super shows where they it's like all AEW TV is filmed at once, and two, and also it's on a Wednesday night. Like not a lot of
That's the
people can
killer.
stay out
Mhm.
until midnight on a Wednesday night, and then also have to drive home because the show doesn't end until midnight.
Yeah,
Right.
that was the killer for me. Spoiler alert, they showed up at my work and they gave us free tickets, and
That's freaking cool.
it was great. I love them for it, but like I showed up, like I attended Dynamite. It was the Arn Anderson Papa Glock promo, so like that was great. But then like afterwards, it's like I have to go to work tomorrow. Like it's Wednesday. Like if they did like Saturday Collision tape Sunday, like that'd be great. But it's like I gotta go. I have work tomorrow. Like I gotta get up at 5:30. Like I don't care how good this like fucking Rampage match is. I gotta go to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
Like
I've
it
totally
wasn't even
forgot.
like a big drive. It was like 20 minutes. It's like I gotta go to bed, man. Like
Yeah.
sorry, man.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you didn't mention Rampage, I would have forgotten all about that program. That's another issue is too many shows.
Yeah. Well,
And it's weird
Like,
because like that's the only thing they do. Like it's good that talent only has to work like 2 days a week, but like they still have too many people for those 2-3 days.
right.
Like
They didn't do a brand split. It's like everybody is on both shows. So it's like so basically Rampage is just the third hour of Dynamite
yeah.
is what it breaks down to.
yeah, and
Yeah.
like there's
There's
been
just no.
good shit on like Collision and also Rampage, but I'm like it's almost like if I don't hear like the spoilers, there's like, oh, this is gonna be good. Like I don't want to watch it. Like I've watched like I didn't like Jay Lethal or not Jay Lethal, Jay White until we saw like him and Juice Robinson versus FTR 2 out of 3 falls on Collision. And I'm like, I get it, but like that was like a Saturday show, and I'm like, man, like normally I wouldn't watch that because like I'm just getting out of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we should just wrap it up. But like, long story short, AEW doesn't have vision and it doesn't have leadership, and it has way too much go. It has way too many. It has way too many things going on where less is more. Um, that's that's the quickest way to sum it up. But I mean, yeah,
It's still
they've they've
good. It's still good, but like I fear like it's one of those things where it's like this is still good. I will pay for the pay-per-views, but they no longer have the advantage of being the hot young company where like
Yeah.
I'm watching the WWE stuff basically for like $5, and it's no longer like hey, if I got Peacock anyway, might as well watch this, where it's like you have to invest money in AEW and you're hoping like it it's justifying your investment in it, and it's like I've invested for so long, like are you going to commit to the excellence that I expect from you?
Yeah. Yeah.
right. Parting thoughts, Rob.
Uh, I think that I like I said before we started, I am a fan of AEW and I want them to do well because more wrestling means like more competition in the wrestling world is good for the wrestling business. It just more options and It gives the talent a good a place. It gives the talent options. So they're not just like relegated to the indies if they don't get into WWE. But they need to get their shit together. Tony Khan needs to like take a step back and like listen to the people that are like telling him, hey, like you need to like fix things. And also he should just get off Twitter completely. He should not be like he should just not have social media, because like that just makes everything worse. And I don't want the company to fail. I want them to succeed. So I don't know where we go from here in regards to that. I don't know if he could like save it at this point, or if like they're just gonna like basically just indefinitely kind of keep it running with their own money, and then until like viewership drops to like such low levels that they can't even like fill up like a small theater like the Hammerstein Ballroom or something, and then maybe they'll shut it down. But I don't know. I don't know what their plan is with that. I think they really need to just get their shit together.
Yep. I agree with all of those things from both of you. This has been Why Does This Exist? Oh, God damn it. This has been Why Does This Exist? Thank you, everyone, for sticking it out. And if you listen to the whole thing, God bless you.
Wow.
I like. Thank you very much, Spaceman Frank, for joining us after this long long hiatus. We appreciate you coming on the show and taking time too.
Listen, I suffered through a Buffalo Bills loss. Peppa Pig did not help us. I'm just I'm just struggling through my feelings, and then I gotta talk about wrestling. So
Well, we appreciate your service. You get whatever the equivalent is of a Purple Heart from us.
I get a Dustin Rhodes face paint job.
Oh god.
Sure, we'll work with that. Anyway, as I fade off into the great beyond, thank you everybody for checking us out and listening and everything like that. Let us know what you think if you're watching this on YouTube. Tell us in the comments. It'll probably be a bunch of AEW fans who scream at us and tell us we're horrible people, and
That's okay.
and they'll
It's
call
a
us.
great promo.
I know.
Fight me in real life.
Yeah. Anyway,
It's gonna end up being like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. We're gonna look up all the internet comments that
All
are
you
negative.
motherfuckers are gonna pay.
Yeah, we're coming for you.
We are the ones.
anyway, thanks so much for checking us out, everybody. We appreciate it. This has been Why Does This Exist? I've been Chris.
I've been Rob.
I've also been a person. Also, Spaceman Frank. Catch me outside. How about that? Tony Khan did nothing wrong.
And remember,
Hell of a
everybody.
way to end this.
Yeah. Remember, everyone. Question everything.
Good night, everybody.